who is the EU government, who is the EU Commission, whom to speak with. And so you have so many different people there, you have so many different voices, and you have so many regulations, and this is very, very tedious. So that is in general, that's a friend, the EU government. But there's another friend, and this is the individual. And the individual is a friend of decentralization without knowing it. Because if you ask the individual, are you interested in decentralized this and that? Every individual would say, what is that? Where's the benefit? And now it comes to the right question. So if you can define a benefit of decentralization for the individual, then the individual will choose the decentralized option, but only then. So that means, in plain English, you have to create better Web3 tools, apps, or D-apps, dApps, as centralized or proprietary ones in order to persuade the individual to use them.
Hey, Michael, how are you doing? Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Mihaela, thank you for having me. I'm pretty well. You are too?
Since I found your book, The Mindful Revolution, I hope it can be seen on the screen. But anyway, we will post the link in the description of the podcast along with all the information about you. I couldn't leave this book and I read it overnight and I contacted you immediately. And the next day we had like a 2 hour or so conversation. So thank you so much for giving us your time because there's so much to delve into this. And I was thinking about, if I am to coin this conversation, my expectations from it would be conscious leadership in the singularity era. So, if people and when people will go to your website, which you will post in the description, the first thing, which is pretty striking, they will see is create your reality. So, it's like when I see that, I'm getting the shivers. Indeed, yes. So, because it's such a reminder that, yeah, we don't need to be trapped in any system, like in the Matrix, right? We can create our own systems and liberate ourselves instantly. Um, but of course we would like to learn more about the tricks of how can we do that during the conversation. And then you describe yourself something like that. I'm an entrepreneur by heart. I love to create and build companies and prove that some of my crazy ideas actually come to fruition. So, when I'm thinking of entrepreneurs, I'm thinking of people who are raising funds, who are very much on the ground and not necessarily like very spiritual people who would write a book like The Mindful Revolution, and would delve into the tricks of creating their reality. But before we delve into my questions and into all these mysteries, which you disclose some of them in your book, I'd like just to tell our audience that you are so much more than an entrepreneur and an author. You are also passionate about music. You played electric guitars in 3 bands, and of course, an avid sports person, which I think we can see already from your physique, doing skiing and tennis all year long. I'm like, oh my God, I feel really bad about exercising twice or 3 times a week. So I really need to up my game here, Michael, to get up with you. So to get up to your standards, I mean. But coming back to your book, The Mindful Revolution, it is an autobiographical account, at least that's how I see it, which reveals many more dimensions, yes, that make up who you are. And it's also a call to awakening because it posits that humanity needs to elevate its level of consciousness if we want to succeed in tackling today's complexity. You very nicely paraphrase Einstein that we cannot solve our problems with the same level of consciousness that created them. Can you please explain what your purpose with the mindful revolution is? What is the main message which you are sending to the world? with this writing?
Of course. Thank you. Thank you very much for the nice introduction. First of all, Mihaela. Um, so I have to say one thing first. So I'm not at all an expert in anything, or I'm an expert in everything. So you can choose. So I'm a very pragmatic person. And as you said, I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm not a scientific type of guy. I'm not a lecturer. I'm not a guru or something like that in that kind. I'm just a pragmatic entrepreneur. But I had in the past I had some personal events myself and in my family that triggered some kind of different thinking in me. So first, I was like the guys you described. So I was very straightforward. I had built some companies, and those companies were financed by either strategic and of financial investors, and I did all that. I had my pitch decks, and I had my business models, and I had my KPIs, and so forth. And this is not a bad thing in itself. It's just one way to do stuff. And since I never worked for somebody else, and I always was entrepreneur, that's what I'm really in for. So to create things, to start things that I like, that I really love, and yeah. And then something happened. So my wife had a brain tumor, and this was unexpected, completely unexpected, as quite often. And yeah, I had to decide on things very differently from one day to another. And I mean with very differently, completely differently. And as it turned out, it was a benign tumor, so it was not a, let's say, a grandiose problem. But we didn't know that at that time. So first, you're being confronted with this diagnosis, and then you have to cope with that, and then there's operation, and then there's the rehabilitation phase, and so forth. And but that was the trigger for me to think about my health, or the health of my relatives more deeply. And that brought me to my one of my now favorite topics: longevity, health, longevity, and how to. You mentioned playing tennis, skiing, and that's all part of my longevity regimen, if you will. And this brain tumor was the one and only maybe trigger to write that book, because then I started thinking about what is my purpose in my life. Is it writing pitch decks? Is it pitching in front of investors? Is it being a successful entrepreneur? Is it being a father? Is it being a husband? And then I realized that it was very complex for me. It was too complex for me to grasp what really was my purpose. I couldn't find a purpose in the very first second or minute. And the more I thought about it, the clearer it became that we all, and I think I can speak for many of us, if not all, we live in a world of complexity, which is most mostly too complex to understand. So we get and the more information we are confronted with, the more uh, so co- confused we are, the more complexity there is, and the lesser we are able and capable of deciding the right things, or to know where to go, to know which decision what to decide, and so forth. And that was this. there I found this title, The Mindful Revolution, and how to cope with complexity of this world. Because I think for everyone, it is very hard to look through this complexity and to find the her individual single purpose within that kind of complexity. And the other thing is, I think that many people think about society and have more or less sensible recommendations how society should change. This is not my style. So I don't have recommendations for society because I know I can't change society, and society is in itself very complex. I the only entity I can change is myself. I cannot change even my wife or my children. The only entity I can change is myself. So it's the atom, the atomistic perspective, if you will. And so I think that we as a society have the opportunity, but it's, I think, the only opportunity to survive if each of us, if everybody um, finds their way through this complexity by understanding themselves better, by learning more about themselves, and enabling themselves to cope with that grade of complexity.
Totally. And there is an issue here, which is pretty big issue at stake, that we are also brought up and educated and live in a world which functions by the wrong paradigm, which is the power paradigm, right? I mean, it's like exactly as you say. And I don't know if probably everybody has seen Citizen Kane. He was what he was actually aiming was to control the world, to control society, and he used the newspaper, yes, through that. And that was such a visionary movie because it shows how actually social media is doing it now. And I have to contradict you a bit here because I agree that we cannot change. I mean, you cannot change me, definitely. I know that, and nobody else. But we can be influenced, and unfortunately, humans are very weak in this regard, and that's what we see now. Yes, I mean we are getting through the incentives and the wrong values which are propagated. Yes, they are preying on our weaknesses and deepen us even more into the wrong paradigm. So how I see it, and I agree, it's your book is for me a call to awakening. That's how actually I think you even state it. It is a call, and you give your own example in the book. That's clear. Yes. My question is, can we nudge people like social media is doing now in the wrong way? Could we nudge them to actually start such a soul search so that this mindful revolution they can join it? What's your opinion there?
In a way, we can nudge people, not maybe very directly, but perhaps indirectly. So I give you personal examples. I have a 18-year-old daughter, and kids, 18-year-old kids
I
have
remember when
their
I was, so I know.
so so it's hard to phrase that correctly. So
Don't,
they have their
because I
own
think we know. At least
they
parents know, and we all were
they
18.
they know everything. I mean, when I was 18, I knew everything, and
Yes,
at least
and
better than
better
my
than the
parents.
parents,
Yeah,
definitely. Yes.
exactly. So, and it's more or less, I will simplify a bit. If I ask my daughter to do this or that because of this or that, then she might do it, or if she dislike it, she won't do it. If I see something in her which she obviously, which she a what she wants to be, what she's striving for, but she expresses that or not. But I see that in her, that she's striving for something, and I'm able to be a representative of that, or if to live like that, or to showcase that, or to somehow show her how to achieve that goal. Then she grasps that, and then she starts changing her behavior. So this is the indirect way of nudging her. So I'm not telling her do this and that, or try, or why don't you try this or that. But I create, so to say, a model that is a potential model for her, and she then can decide whether uh, to live, or to go in that direction, and to take this model and to become like this model.
Yes, and immediately as you are telling me a strategy which you probably are using already with your daughter, um, I'm just wondering, can we embed such strategies, simple strategies from people's experiences, maybe in AI chatbots, which maybe our kids listen more to, and maybe they respect more than their own parents. And do you think that would be a good idea? To guide, to nudge society maybe towards this
Mm.
awakening. And what do you think?
So on the technological level, the two of us, we know that this is of course possible. So we can set change the temperature of models, or we can select databases the models use to learn, blah blah blah. And that is possible. But I would be very, very careful, because, I mean, what I'm not saying is that what I think is good for my daughter is really good for my daughter. This is not what I'm saying. This is just one way. Yeah, and more often than not, I mean, my daughter is just one example. It's not about my daughter specifically, but more often than not, it's I am the one who has to cope with a different action, with a different decision that I would have made in the beginning of people. And this is not a bad thing. So would be very careful to actively, or to try to actively define the way we go for, because I don't know of any good examples in politics, in governments. I mean, all politicians, or most politicians, all governments do exactly that. They try to define the best possible way to live. And are we content with it? Are we satisfied with it? Do we want others to tell us how to
No,
live?
I don't
No.
think that's the problem. I think the problem is that once they are elected, they don't do it. I mean, the vision
Yeah.
is good, but that's why they are elected.
Yeah.
And maybe also the same. I mean, so I
Mhm.
don't see that problem here. But let
Yeah.
me let me push you a little bit. So, because you tried to escape my first question, so I'm coming back to it now. This is like the book, The Mindful Revolution, right? It's an amazing title, at least, and book, because I read it. It's very impressive. What is the revolution about, and how can we create, or tell us about what did you have in mind when you called this
Yeah.
revolution?
I think many people search for better solutions, for better lives, for rescue, for help in external areas. So they expect help from the external from some external fields, from the outside. So it's like you're sick, you see your doctor, and you expect him to help you. And if if I if I paraphrase another perspective, it's not the doctor who can heal you, but it's yourself. But the doctor can rather hint at something you can change to heal yourself. I mean, there's medicine, okay, I, I see that, but yeah, and the revolutionary thing here, what I mean is that I'm completely persuaded that the human being, every human being, is not using and not making use of his or her capabilities. And I mean, look at I give you I simplify again. For a few years, there has been this trend to visit gyms to exercise, and people exercise, people grow their muscles, people. What are they doing? They grow their muscles in gyms. And where are mental gyms? Where are the mental gyms? I mean, we have mental gyms. They are called schools, universities, colleges, but they are supposed to be mental gyms until the age of 25, 26, 27. And then we have PhD programs, and that goes perhaps to up to 30, the age of 30. But where is the mental exercise we are doing each day to stay fit, and not just to mentally fit, and not just to stay mentally fit, but to become a better version of ourselves? Where is that? And this is what I think is or must be or should be the revolution. We should realize that we in our in 2025 human humans have had so many possibilities, have had so many years, decades to learn, to become better versions of ourselves, and somehow this has not worked out very well. So right at the moment, we seem to go back in time. Right at this moment, many people in the world, many governments, many movements, many events hint that we will become more like people 100 or 200 or 300 or 400 years ago, and not as better versions, future versions of ourselves. So to sum it up again, we have to realize that we are not doing that much. We have to do to act and be and become a real human
Okay,
being.
but I think you're still going around the point. Yes, I'd like a more straight shooting. What do we have to do? How do we create this revolution? What do we have to do to become a better human? I mean, I want. Everybody does.
Mm, mm. I can tell you what I have, what I'm doing,
I mean,
and I
your
think,
book is called
mhm,
The Mindful Revolution. I assume it's, and I said it's your personal biography. Of course,
yeah,
we expect to learn from you.
yeah. But I mean, if I take you literally, if I was a revolutionary guide or somebody who would stand in front of hundreds of thousands of people and guide the way.
No, no, no. There are
I
books
would
called Revolution from Within, and I think that's what we're talking about here.
yeah, exactly. So I what I'm saying is the rescue, help, support will not come from the outside. Each solution each answer is already inside.
Mhm.
You just have to find it.
Okay, so
And
can
this
I
is
can I can I just say what I understand from all what you said so far? Yes, spell it out in my um, spell it out in my understanding. So, yeah, of course, there is a need for the mental gym. Yes, that's undeniable, given where society is going. We're trapped in the matrix. That's how I call it. And this, you mentioned that school is the mental gym. I would say that school and the education system so far, and now proven and revealed more and more, is destroying rather than building or empowering. Right. So it's just we
it
regurgitate whatever we're told, and we're
it
taught
it
the
it's a
wrong
yeah,
model. Yes. So on the other side, yes, because of that, we are being trained to obey, yeah, the external authority. That's how we are taught in school, and that's why we listen to the doctor, we listen to the president, we do whatever. We are like cogs in this matrix, in this machine. We lost our agency and our autonomy, and we learned to I mean, or to be disempowered and act like that. And what I understand from your book, because when I read it, that's how it was for me. Like you, it's a call for awakening, and that means we are empowered, like how I was saying, yes, to change our reality and to really step back and look again and see the truth for what it is. And sorry to push you, to give us the recipe, because I agree, yeah, for
mm,
everyone is personal. But please tell us your own path. What did you do for that, for
mm.
yourself, to free yourself?
I'm I'm taking different different actions. I'm taking I'm taking different routes than I would think I'm supposed to take. So um, yeah, that's pretty easy. And this is the thing is the problem or the challenge with the mindful revolution is that people tell me it is too basic, it is too simplistic, that it cannot be it. But it is, because in each second you can take a certain action, and then you can take a different action, and you can decide to be humorous. You can decide to be angry. You can decide. I could decide not to answer your questions, for example. Right now, this wouldn't
I
make
feel
any
I
sense
feel
because,
quite a
yeah,
bit of resistance here in this
no,
conversation already. I
no,
know.
no.
Fine, fine.
No, the thing is, I have to play the ball back to you, not to you, but to everybody, because it's not the teacher who teaches you how to learn more about yourself. It's yourself. You have to first you have to first acknowledge that you are not doing as much as you should or could do. The first is the real this acknowledgement that has to come first. Then the question, okay, so how could I do more, and what should I do? And first advice is meditate. And then I hear people yawning, meditation. It's always the same advice. But yeah, but now listen, those people who tell you meditation is an old kind of advice and doesn't work, they don't meditate. They maybe they have tried to meditate once or even twice, and then they weren't flying through their homes, so they decided it's not working. Yeah, but the thing is, it's and I know many other people who have done it for a while, and for a while means at least a few weeks, if not months. And many people, and I have been doing that for years. So I have a completely different understanding of myself than before. I'm able of what I learned, what I could not do before I started that journey. if someone was angry with me in a business environment, for example, I shot back. I immediately shot back. So there was a fight, immediate fight, and the stronger one won. So now I can leave that. I don't fight. It goes into this ear and goes out on the other side if I decide to. So and it's not the case that for a third person I would be looked at as the loser only because I have not fought back. So this is the understanding. So you have to come to a different understanding. So that was my decision not to fight back because I was able not to fight back. I was able. And this being able is a very simple decision. But if you are aroused, it's not as simple because in the situation, so theoretically it's simple, but in the situation it's not. And if you meditate and if you do that really, really seriously, so if you meditate seriously, and that I mean for quite a time, and yeah, then you will learn that you can change your behavior even in dangerous situations, and you can take another way, you can take another route, and then you realize you can do more than you thought before.
Totally. And if I may say, uh, there are a few threads here which I can emphasize. So number one is, of course, this paradigm shift, which I was talking about from the power games in which it's win lose on argument and fight back and all that, into wisdom. Yes, and that's how I would call it, the wisdom, the fact, like your reaction. Yes, you and this for this we need that mental muscle training. Yes, and I think that is, yeah, and everybody, of course, it's, I think, and I agree with you that it's subjective. On one side subjective, on the other side it's an experience, and it's most of it non-verbal. Yes, as you say, through meditation, discovering yourself. It's not easy to put it in words because our words are so limited to describe such an experience, such a transformative experience. Then there is, of course, this all paradigm shift from power to wisdom goes also with change in thinking. Yes, because my question was coming from, I do not know if from power, but anyway, from a place where give me the recipe, give me the pill, and I it's exactly the disempowering paradigm. Yes, I was looking at you for the recipe versus going myself through my own soul search. And as you mentioned, yes, it has to be. It's very personal, and I that reminded me. Maybe that's what you should write another book on koan of koans, because I remember I was studying with the highest Buddhist priest in Japan, Yasuhiko Genku Kimura, and he gave me a koan which I'm still with right now, and I'm gonna share it. It's very personal. I'm gonna share it, and it says there is a possibility that you are floating into a sea of oxygen and you find it impossible to breathe. Anyway, we don't have to to go into that, but it's just an example of such simplistic questions with which I was more or less attacking you. Don't work, and I think just this interaction now reveals a bit of what we have to do, or maybe some truths are being revealed. I would
Absolutely.
like, yes, and I would like to move on though to more pragmatic, because you are a pragmatic person. But of course, before this, I'd like to also ask you. Maybe there are some ways in which we can translate that into our leadership, our organizations, unless you are telling me, no, those leaders will have to go through their own soul searching. But you are a leader, right? I mean, you have your own startups and so on. And in the book, you introduce the ideas like mindful value creation, organizational consciousness. So the question is, how can a company, even and or an economy or a society, yes, become self-aware? Is it like everybody has to undergo this journey, or like for example, your companies are all impact companies, if I may call them like that. I mean, they increase the quality of living of people, which shows very clearly, yeah, that you are that kind of conscious leader. How can
This is
everybody
exact
become that? Yes.
yeah, this is exactly where it starts, Mihaela. It starts with the decision what to work on. And our decision, decisions what to work on are decisions that are first made in the team. These are not I mean, I have suggestions and many ideas and many suggestions, but we decide, we jointly decide upon them, and everybody has to be fully committed. So I would, for example, never just sell anything which is easily sellable and make tons of money with it because it's easily sellable, but I'm not interested in, or I would think wouldn't be a good idea to sell that thing. So I'm rather satisfied by trying to sell something which seems to be unsellable in the first point, but I'm still convinced that this is a good thing. So, and this is what I once said to a friend of mine. I'm doing things that I can explain to my children, and that I will be able to explain even afterwards. So, and yeah, this is where it
Yes.
starts. So we have
Yes.
to find the right decision, and
No, and because
then
this is also how we work at Singularity Net. We are a team and we do teamwork. And of course, our CEO is Dr. Ben Goertzel and the CEO of the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance. But, he is not like a top-down CEO. He is a team player. And then, of course,
mm,
yeah, everybody
yeah,
to be on board. Yeah. I
and
okay.
yeah, and then you're asked for let's say mindful leadership, or this is it conscious leadership that proves in the process. It's not about maxims or rules or so. It's in the process. It's how I act, how I react, how I involve my teammates, how I inspire them, how I respect their ideas, how I respect their their no's to my ideas. So this is I would say in the process, and this is something. Their relationship. It's more about the relationship. It must be a conscious relationship you build upon, and then you won't have that high employee turnover. You will have satisfied employees, and you will have a good karma, if you will, in your company if you work on that process. But these are simple things, and these are things I have to do every every other day. So I cannot do this, let's say, once or for 1 week, and after that week I can become a dictator again. That's not
No,
that won't work.
absolutely. But the question is, I mean, that would only work, and I assume that's how it works in your organization, if the whole team has a high degree of accountability. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And of course, so you are that inspiring leader. But then, if you rely on them and they don't do the job, then or
Mm.
they are not at this level of awareness, consciousness, and commitment, it won't work. So tell us a bit about the challenges of deploying such a conscious strategy or
Yeah.
conscious team or organization.
The challenge is to lose employees, because employees, not everybody likes that kind of leadership. I have had, so one of my earlier companies. I had 50 plus employees, and I had one very interesting conversation with one employee. I remember every time I'm talking about that. So she said, or I said to her, organize your job as you want to see it organized. And she replied, I don't want to do that. I want that you tell me what I should do.
Yes,
And that was
because
like,
that's the
like, like,
matrix in which she was educated,
like,
or disempowered,
and
or brainwashed, or yeah.
yeah. So that was for me. So I was then I was apparently living in a dream world. So I
Mm.
thought that everybody was very eager to organize themselves, but that
Yeah.
wasn't
Can I tell
reality.
you something,
So
Michael? Because this is important right here for our conversation and our audience. I believe that artificial intelligence can have the same disempowering effect on most people, and it's like, okay, now I got my scheduler, I got my help here, there, and they do everything for us. And then if we
mhm,
forget to think for ourselves, to be creative, curious, we lose those faculties. So I think that's
mhm,
why it's so important to change our MO into this kind of heightened consciousness organizations which you are talking about. So tell me, what
mhm,
benefits could this bring to our economic and technological systems from that vantage point of your story with your employee who couldn't do it? With lots
mhm.
of curiosity, her sense of wonder and commitment and accountability.
So I have worked with, and I'm still working with many employees who started their first job with my company or my companies. So they were like a greenfield experiment, if you will. So they had their maybe PhD, or they studied at college and so forth. And of course, everybody thinks that he or she can contribute quite a lot to to the party, which is not always the case, because they have to learn first, and they have to, yeah, to learn everything what we are doing. But I'm always amazed how what kind of steep learning curves I'm experiencing with them. So I have people that have been working with us for, let's say, 2 years, and they started their first job with us, and I'm not talking about myself, the perspective of myself on them, but the perspective of third persons. And I get the feedback of third persons, of business partners, that my employees are very, very experienced, that they are very helpful, that they are very good, and that they seem to have been working for quite a long time with us. So they have their, let's say, 2 years of experience with us equals, let's say, 5 to 7 years experience in other companies, I would say. And this is the end result of, let's say, as you would say, conscious leadership, that we and everybody gets the best out of them, the best version out of them. In this case, in the business context, of course.
Yes, absolutely. And if I am to take then the lessons from your experience with this, let's call it young material, so they perform much better, learn much faster, grow much faster, let's say professionally, and the productivity increases. So there are a lot of benefits to this style of leadership. If only we could copy you, or maybe we should do your digital twin with our twin protocol, Michael, if you don't mind, and then
Yeah,
leaders can can have you and ask you day and night
mm.
various
but still,
questions.
Mihaela, still, the thing is, again, it's not me, it's everybody, and so I'm just a mirror, if you will.
I
I'm,
love
I'm
it.
I'm trying to be the best. I'm trying to be the best mirror of yourself, so that you recognize more of your better version than you could do without this mirror.
But you also, I mean, it worked because you have seen, I already have seen my limitations in the way I was asking questions in the beginning. So, yes, we have the
Yeah.
proof in the pudding, in the process. Is
Yeah.
It's working, Michael. It's working. I
You
love
see?
it. Yes. So, and with this, I would like to move now to some more concrete things, or I mean, from philosophy to practice, if I may call it this way. You started your
Sure.
first company as a student in 93, and you went on to build and sell ventures like, a travel platform, Travelgate, and social news aggregators. And looking back, what
Mm,
were some pivotal moments or lessons from those early startups that deeply shaped this kind of thinking for you? And maybe they were inspiring you for this conscious leadership. Or they
mm,
were not, because you told us a bit in the beginning.
mm. Um, this is a very good question. So I think
Thank
that
you. It
I
means
mean
the process is working, Michael. I found now
uh,
I'm thinking in a different way. Okay.
in terms of conscious leadership, this might show a, let's say, a high degree of flexibility in hindsight, um, because these were quite different businesses I've built. I mean, all of them were digital, and but with more or less completely different kinds of technologies. But all of them had their comparable or similar challenges. So, for example, how to reach out to many people, how to persuade people to use something which is not tangible, but just imaginary, like softwares, an app or website, um, and and I think and then I learned a lot about the way technologists think. So I myself am not a technologist. I learned everything I nowadays now know about technology on on the journey. And what I learned, what I really learned is for myself is to bridge the gap a little better between completely different mindsets. So nowadays, I'm always still always confronted with completely different mindsets. So there are the Web3 nerds, the AI nerds, and then I have corporate types that ask me, what did he say? What is that again? AGI, what is this general there? Is that the same as AI? And so forth. And I have learned to become a translator in some way. So I translate things, and I'm not shy of, and I'm not looking down to people. I'm not looking down to nerds who can't express themselves very well, and I'm not looking down to corporate or other people who are not capable of coding, maybe. So
Yes.
I think everybody, yeah. So I'm trying to bridge that, and that is
So thank you. This is a very, compelling answer. Did As a question, I do not know. Maybe it's the wrong question, but I'm just curious if since your soul search and your own awareness and awakening development, uh, did that influence you in how you choose what to build and like what to solve, what problems to solve, or you were like that always?
no, I wasn't. So in my first companies were, let's say, more opportunistic ones, and the options are the the options were opportunistic, and you just have to let my son grab something here. So, and nowadays, I have the freedom, which I had not back then. And I mean the monetary freedom and the mental freedom to decide things on things differently. So I I have been asked to end, if you will, the Mobix experiment several times by people who are more interested in making money than following other paths of entrepreneurship. And it's not an easy thing to follow this route of, let's say, um, average returns in favor of doing the right thing, and hopefully superb returns in the long term.
Yes, and this
But
is
I'm
this
I'm
is Michael, if I may, because you touched a very painful point for me in particular, as the president of the Impact Institute for the Digital Economy. This is indeed the biggest issue with impact projects, right? I mean, everybody is asking, well, when do you get the money? Who wants to invest in this or who wants to do this? And I agree. Yeah? So many things drive our decisions. We have to be very strong. So how do you overcome those obstacles? If you were younger, could you do
I
that?
I survive my opponents.
Yes, yes. So
so,
far, I can
so
see you have white
I'm
hair. So yes, you give me
yeah.
courage.
So no, just beside joking. So this is a very good question. You have to be persistent, very persistent, and sometimes against your own immediate impression. Because from time to time, I mean, I'm not completely resistant to external advice, of course. So if there is external advice, I listen. And if this advisor would tell me to end something I started because it doesn't make any sense and it won't be successful anytime, I
Yeah,
would have to
but that's
listen
not what
quite
we're
carefully.
talking about. Yeah, we're talking about those projects which have to be done. How do we do it? And if I may augment the question, just so you get an idea where I'm going with it. So at Singularity Net, yes, we are on the path of building the beneficial artificial intelligence. And of course, we are
Mhm.
against all the big centralized monsters who maybe cannot care less about beneficial. I mean, Palantir gets a lot of money to kill people, to build technologies that kill more people. And of course, AGI can help that a lot, and we could
Mhm.
make a lot of money. However, we are taking the
Mhm.
higher road. So the question is, how do we, from your experience, how do we overcome those obstacles? Because I mean,
Mhm.
if Palantir would come to us and tell us,
This.
nah, don't do that, decentralize, don't, you don't make money, enough money, we would still do it.
Mhm.
So, so
Mhm.
what can we learn from your
Yeah,
experience?
yeah. First, you have to somehow um, achieve a certain secure level of financing. So you have to achieve that because if you need money, and if you really need money, you won't take the wrong direction. You will take the wrong direction.
And that's why we
So
rely on our community, which is supporting us. Yes, so with the
yeah,
ASI
yeah,
token and so on. And yes,
yeah.
of
That,
course.
that's that's that, that's the basis. And then I think there are two different kinds of friends in this play. There might be in the decentralized AI, AGI, you asked. There might be a friend called government or group of governments. So the European Union, for example, is very much inclined or very much in this sovereign identity space, and they are very much they are persuaded that it's a good thing to leave the responsibility for the identity things to the individual and not to the state. And this is in contrast to other countries we all know.
Yeah, so
And this
so I
is
think generically to find supporters for the cause, and
yeah,
yes, so that's
yeah.
what I take
But
from
but
this. Yes.
but but of course there is a challenge if I mean, who is the EU government, who is the EU Commission, whom to speak with? And so you have so many different people there, you have so many different voices, and you have so many regulations, and this is very, very tedious. So that is, in general, that's a friend, the EU government. But there's another friend, and this is the individual. And the individual is a friend of decentralization without knowing it. Because if you ask the individual, are you interested in decentralized this and that? Every individual would say, what is that? Where's the benefit? And now it comes to the right question. So if you can define a benefit of decentralization for the individual, then the individual will choose the decentralized option, but only then. So that means, in plain English, you have to create better Web3 tools, apps, or D-apps, dApps, as centralized or proprietary ones, in order to persuade the individual to use them. You cannot argue with some theoretical benefits of decentralization. I mean, these are clear, and on the societal level, these are right, and so and on. But the individual will not accept those as beneficial enough for themselves. So you have to create better tools and apps as the centralized ones. And then you can persuade the individual.
There is another way, if I may, and I completely
Sure.
agree with you. Definitely, yes, we need to bring and to show to the individual the value. But there is another motivation here at stake, and that is giving them control over what's being developed and what not. Because, like with Palantir or OpenAI, they have no control. For example, with Singularity Net, with our open source platform, they can see the applications and what we have there, and they can contribute themselves and be rewarded into our tokens. So I think empowering people to actually make the decisions about what we develop and what not is now a very critical aspect of it. And of course, it's all the applications which are on the
Mm,
platform. Of course, benefit them, but it's not only about what's in it for me. I think it's a higher, as you say in your book, the mindful revolution. I mean, it's a bigger cause here at stake, which is maybe the destiny of humanity itself. So, but let me I just, because now you mentioned the European Commission, and I know that you serve as co-chair of the European Blockchain Association, which has actually pioneered this, not only based on this identity decentralized structure, they pioneered an interesting governance structure. So, do you believe that? But I think the miracle is that it is applied, like at the
yeah,
European level, which is wonderful, and
yeah.
maybe they can get some inspiration at the European Commission also from you. But apart from that, do you believe in this decentralized autonomous organization now that you have the experience of working with them? Are they productive? Can they make businesses or communities more, let's say, um, conscious, or how do we call it? Yes, can they make them more assertive? Uh, as I was saying, more empowered.
Mm. Um, in principle, yes, but not as completely autonomous organizations. As I said before, every organization is based on some principles on the
Mm.
governance model, and the who has created the governance model? People. And who are those people? Those people are responsible for each transaction, for each communication that will take place in an autonomous organization, because they created the governance model. And were they capable of foreseeing the future of those things the DAO has to decide upon? No, I don't think so. And this is for me, it is the automation aspect is very, very useful. And to some degree, an autonomous decision-making progress is also useful, because of course, you can decide, let's say, you need a 50% majority or 75% majority or 90% majority for this and that kind of voting. Then that you can decide upon. This is not very, very tricky. But all other autonomously working processes are kind of inhuman in the best sense of the word, and you have to somehow you have to make sure that humans understand all processes. Humans understand the way from input to output, and if the humans start not to understanding and start to asking what happened from here to there, I don't understand this. For example, AI, large language models. Good example. Who of OpenAI, and OpenAI is just one example, who of OpenAI understands the OpenAI large language models? I would say nobody. Nobody can completely explain why the large language model acts and answers in that way. Nobody. Because it's too complex. And would you then rely on autonomous processes based on an OpenAI model? No. Easy answer.
But let me tell you, that's why, yes, our approach at Singularity Net and Dr. Ben Goertzel's secret sauce, yes, is neural symbolic reasoning. So he brings also the symbolic aspect, which he can enable you to explain. But that's a different conversation, and I don't want to go there with you. I would like to stay here with the decentralization, because that's an important aspect for us. And you have been working with Fetch for some time, and of course now we are a family because we joined into the ASI. And you said that you are in a kind of your passion is bridging minds. And I'm just wondering, I don't know if you are involved in, bridging, creating bridges between all these entities that have joined now the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance. And in particular, I would like to know your opinion about decentralization. Do you think it is something to go for? Or is it some nuisance which kind of, just slows things down and it doesn't have a real purpose,
Mm,
a real benefit, not purpose?
mm. It's I mean, Mihaela, it's not an either or. It's not a centralized or a decentralized world.
Mm.
So many parts of our world are centralized and will be centralized. And even more processes in our world are decentralized and will be decentralized. So it's more a matter of how to marry these two um, very, very different paradigms. And the issues, the challenges appear at the interfaces. So when you have a centralized system here and you have a decentralized system here, and that you have to create some interface here, and then you have to decide, okay, would you put more value or effort in a more complex decentralized process and let the decentralized process work and just take the output into the centralized process? Or would you just stop with decentralization here, put everything here, and let just somebody centrally decide and then go further on. So it's more about the interface of those two worlds, and this will be an ongoing process. We cannot solve that as it's good, it's bad, it's so we have to discuss that from for every single item, for every single use case, and we have to evaluate whether decentralized values, maybe more in the political sense, or more in the voting sense, or more in the diversity sense, have to be stressed, or whether they don't have to be stressed because we need a solution rather now than tomorrow.
Yeah, so this transition from centralized to decentralized is not like a clear cut. Yeah, so some things are better decentralized and some others maybe it's needed. So it should be, I can
Yeah.
see it like a toggle in the governance, yes, in which you have
Mhm.
weights. This more decentralized, okay, everybody votes. This other one, okay, we can take some executive decisions here, maybe only at the
Mhm.
level of the C suite. And yeah, I completely agree with this more balanced approach, which reminds me of your mindful revolution and wisdom, because your work really bridges the personal and professional realms. And you are offering concrete advice for self development in your book, as at least how I have seen it from your own experience. Like, you've noted that by focusing on creating positive emotions, we can enhance our longevity and achieve our goals more effectively. And that to change our reality, we must, to come back to the initial phrase, yes, change your reality. In order to do that, we must alter our mindset by recognizing unconscious habits. So, and of course, you share some daily practices, which you already mentioned here as well. And I invite everybody to get your book, The Mindful Revolution, which we will have a link in the description of the podcast. So, the last question to you, of course, as a mindful person, I cannot not ask this question. I ask some selective guests this question, but I must ask you this. And I know you don't like big questions and grandiose things, but I have to ask you, what is the meaning of life, Michael?
Meaning of life is to ask you yourself on a daily basis what the meaning of life is. To repeat this question again and again. And the more often you repeat this question, the more often you prove that you think about this question. So the first thing is to really ask yourself the question, and ask this question again and again. And the more you ask this question, the nearer you come to a solution which is individual.
Yes, yes. Okay, that's amazing. Yeah, because I mean, yes, this is very much aligned with the integral philosophy. Like we are the whole in the part, but so we are whole and part at the same time of these organization structures, which we, uh, maybe they self-organize. Maybe sometimes we don't let them self-organize, and we influence them from top down, and all these, but we must remember that, yes, and this I think mindful revolution is enabling us every morning, yes, to remember by asking ourselves this question. Thank you. So, Michael, really, thank you for your time. I know how busy you are. You have just so many companies to run. I'm so happy to have you on board, part of our extended team with Fetch, the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance. And so, thank you for all your work. And I really hope you can come to our Beneficial General Intelligence Conference, because your book definitely fits with our topic.
I love to come, of course, and thank you very much, Mihaela, for this very very great conversation. I mean, this is not a usual conversation I have, and it's even not a usual conversation based on the fact that I'm an entrepreneur, because most conversations are around entrepreneurship and business and something like that. But as you pointed out, it's the synthesis of thinking about yourself and then creating a conscious leadership that makes perhaps a good entrepreneurship play. Right.
Totally, totally.